like to shore up this year earlier and just go at her. We want to be aggressive because we know that we're on the right track now, and it's like a puzzle. I think Razique and his team has done a good job, and we kind of figured it out this past season, and now we want to put that into the field.
So thank you for tuning in, everyone. I'm pleased to welcome back to the show Fiore, Aliperti CEO, and Dr. Abdul Razique, Chief Geologist of Metallis Resources. Gentlemen, really good to see you again. How you been keeping?
I'll let my colleague answer first. How are you doing, Razique?
Good to be here.
Fiore, your scarf is missing, I see.
Yes, it's getting warmer in Vancouver, and there was too many comments last time on my scarf, so this time I'm scarfless.
It is nice that it's spring, though. I'm sure the weather is beautiful there. It's finally above zero here, so it's good. It's that nice feeling of spring. Changes in the air. Drill season's not too far away. It's a good feeling, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I love when you say drill season's not that far away. We would like it to be tomorrow, but we're going to have to still wait for the snow to come down. I know in Saskatchewan, you guys still have a little bit of snow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
is that correct? Or just a little bit? Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Going from igloo to igloo. Okay, go ahead.
All right. Well, you put some news out today. So we're obviously here to talk about that. And we'll bring the slides up here. This is actually from your new presentation, which is now available on your website, I believe. Really cool picture, by the way. I like the picture, is really interesting.
Absolutely. I want to congratulate the team. They put a lot of effort in the new presentation, headed by our communication manager, Peter Oates, and assisted by Razique and Dave Dupree. We're all pitched in, and of course, without Razique's work, we couldn't have a presentation. So, he's the main man. But anyways, we got to give some kudos to Peter. Otherwise, he's going to get upset.
Yeah, I must say that Dorian from explorationsites.com did a fantastic job on the graphics.
Yes.
Yeah, once again, really wanted to give you guys kudos. Really good graphics in the news release. I feel like it does really help you to understand it, and obviously we're going to be going through some of those today. So,
sure.
I mean, you did put out 3 new holes, 34, 35, 36. We had already talked about 37. We might as well start maybe with hole 34. It was one of your highlight holes. You were able to hit some of that higher grade mineralization again. This time, Razique, it looks like you actually intersected the better gold grades in the porphyry phase as opposed to the calcareous sandstone. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. Like I said, the mineralization, the gold-rich mineralization, is not just restricted to the calcareous sandstone sediments, but it's actually hosted by the porphyry itself, and it was a big step out for us. Where hole 34. If you go back to the previous slide, I would just like to mention that hole 34 was 1.2 kilometer step out from the original discovery hole, and this drill hole have confirmed the continuity of mineralization at that depth, and expanded the gold zone for about 2 kilometers north-south strike length, and it's still open to the north and to the south, as you can see, with the coincident IP resistivity anomalies clustered along that trend.
I wanted to step in, Razique, if you don't mind. When we're talking about from one to the other, the 1.2 kilometers is from hole 37 that we presented already to hole 34 that we're just unveiling right now. So that's the 1.2 kilometer difference, and it's more. If you look in there, you'll see the sweet spot of where 37 is in the middle. And you'll see the sweet spot of 34, which is in the middle, and you'll see the link of distance. I'll let my esteemed chief geologist, he's better at describing the mineralization, so I won't even touch that. Go ahead, Razique, sorry.
Yeah, I just wanted to emphasize on the volume potential and scale of this system. It's just getting bigger and bigger as we drill more and more, and it's expanding with every other drill hole. And when we did our cross-section work, we found that the whole zone is just being tested for the upper, 300 to 400 meters at best. But we literally have 2 drill holes in that whole 2 kilometers trend that is testing the depth potential. And as expected, we have confirmed the continuity of mineralization at depth, as well as improving grades and improving chalcopyrite ratios in the drilling. And so that was a very good sign. And then not only that, but we started to see that overlap of the gold-rich mineralization being overprinting on top of the porphyry potassic zone. Potassic alteration. So we do see a lot of remnant potassic alteration with higher chalcopyrite content, higher vein densities, and improved copper gold grades. So that's quite exciting.
So, Razique, for 2021, then, again, this big long arrow I drew, that was the 1.2 kilometers that you're talking about. So there's a lot of space in between to fill out. I know that there's a shallow hole here, MDO2, MDO5. These are shallower holes that I've drilled in between. But to test this deeper part of the corridor, and maybe I'll go to the cross section segments that you have here. So just so everyone at home can kind of see, there's 37, which we talked about in our last interview. Yeah. These are the collar locations. There's 34. So you can kind of see that in between, there's really no deep holes that are testing deep down, right? So is a natural follow-up step from this in 2021 then to do some infill drilling in between?
Oh, absolutely. There is a lot of gaps in between. Even in the upper part of the mineralized corridor, you can see most of the drill holes are quite far apart. They're at least 100 to 150 meters apart, which gives us the confidence, which reflect that we are so confident about the pervasive silicitic alteration and pervasive continuous mineralization from north to south, and continuity of the system laterally and vertically. So for the first time, in 2020 drill program, we were able to test the deeper part of the system. That's where we got those incredible gold grades at around the same elevation level. So my point is that the system is being fairly tested with that grade in the upper part of the system, but as you go deeper and deeper, the grades improve, and the potassic alteration and the copper grades also improve.
I wanted to point out, sorry, John, I wanted Razique's take with hole 37 and hole 34. The important thing that we also have to establish or say is that we drilled east to west, and that makes a big difference, and I'll have Razique explain why. We've been drilling consistently from west to east, but this past season we drilled east to west, and we got the better gold and grade period and richness because of what, Razique? Please explain.
I think it's all about the elevation level. If you look at the vertical elevation profile, the vertical profile, all the drill holes that's been drilled from west to east are higher up on the western side of the system. And then there is a 200 meters of elevation difference between the east and west drill holes. So as you come down, lower down in the valley on the east side, on the eastern flank, that's where we are able to test deeper, because it just gives us that edge of an extra 200 meter depth. And hole 35 and hole 36, like, it's a good example, hole 35 is drilled from west to east, and it has confirmed all the grades that's been previously drilled in 1 and 11. So back in the days, I think in 2018, had we knew the geometry and morphology of the system, we would have continued that KH0901 and KH1811. As you can see, they just arrived at the right zone and it's been stopped. But that's the target. As you go deeper, the grades are improving, and then it's just opening up a huge space at the deeper western flank of the system.
Okay, so again, just to confirm what you guys just said, the difference between this whole location here, KH 1811, and then hole 35 from this year, that's the two. Those are 200 meters. 35 is 200 meters higher, approximately, than 11.
Yes.
Exactly. And the way it doesn't look like on the graphic, because you're looking at from at the top, and we wanted to show that a little bit of correlation of the red IP resistivity high that's sitting on top of the mineralized zone. If you go back to the last section, hole 36, there you go. Now you can literally measure the that difference between the east and west. Let me draw that for you. So the difference between say hole 13, which is at the western flank, and the valley, that's about 200 meters.
Yeah.
So that is your 200 meters profile. So, and then as you can see, the valley on the eastern flank, and then on the western ridge, you have all the other drill holes at this contact, which is about 200 meters difference.
Okay.
Sorry, John. And the other thing I wanted Razique to touch upon is the intrusion. It's deeply you can explain, Razique. Why is the west more inviting than the east?
Yeah, it all comes back to the geometry and morphology of these systems. It is a complicated, a very interesting tabular, linear porphyry system. And when we did all the cross section work, and we did the modeling, the 3D modeling with our GIS specialist Andrew McIntosh, we came up with a very surprising, steeply west dipping attitude of the porphyries. Not just the porphyries, but also the sediments. And all of our 3D modeling and cross-section work shows that the deeper western flank of this whole 2 kilometers is untested.
Okay, so I want to, again, just for clarity, I want to revisit this one, the hole 35. So you guys were saying, I believe, that had you kept drilling, so here's hole 1811, if you had extended that hole like that and deeper,
even deeper than that, longer, make it longer,
all the way to the argillites.
Yeah, all the way. Keep going. Yes.
Let me try it one more time. Third time's the charm.
Yeah.
How's that?
Yes. Now you're good. Beautiful.
Now you're talking.
Yeah. So this area here, this effectively, this is the area that you tested with hole 34 and 37. And had you extended 18 and known what you know today, obviously, then you would have continued hole 18 and tested this depth.
Hole 11.
Sorry, 1811. Yeah.
Yes, that's fine.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so this helps to explain why the grades on 35, for example, aren't as good as the grades on 34 and 37, because it's 35 isn't really testing, I guess you could call the right area or the sweet spot that you found with 34 and 37.
Yeah, well, 35, Razique will go deep into this, but 35 and 36 are nothing to sneeze at either, because 35 is testing the upper part of the porphyry. And in 36, you have 491 meters of consistent porphyry So that's 491 meters. We went too quickly into the east, but if that was to go down, it would continue. So I'll let Razique speak. He's the geologist. Go ahead, Razique. Sorry.
No, that's fine. This was probably the one of the best hole in terms of porphyry style mineralization. Hole 36 went through almost 500 meters of the porphyry environment. That 491 meters of porphyry mineralization with 0.32 grams per ton gold equivalent. That's an incredible, first-hand grade for a porphyry system at that level, at that shallow level. There is the mineralization literally starts from the surface, and we have constantly been seeing that the grades improve with depth, and that interval actually open up a whole new area on the deeper western flank of the porphyry system.
So on that note of grades improving with depth, this hole maybe is one of the outliers with respect to the grades on 36, for example, are still pretty comparable, even though it's as you said, a really nice long run of mineralization. If you compare it to 13, the grades are fairly in line. Is that again because of the way it was drilled? If you were to drill it from east to west, you would.
No, I think it's because the way we are looking at, like I said, all the drill holes are like 100 meters apart. On this cross section that you see, hole 13 is 100 meters further to the north of 36, and that is just projected onto the cross section. You see my point?
Yeah.
So that's why you see. Yeah, exactly. So 13 is further to the north, and there is like 100 meters difference between them. That's huge. That's really coarse. Right. So you cannot compare those grades with one another. So every drill hole has its own profile of grade distribution.
Okay. No, fair point. So it sounds like some of the takeaways so far, you obviously want to do more holes drilling east to west. You want to try and get some infill drilling, especially in between 34 and 37. You've got a lot of space to work with there. Even if you poke 2 or 3 more holes in there, they would still be fairly far apart spaced, right?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. Because I think we've got a vector now. Right now we've got a vector where we know that the high grade mineralization is within the main mineralized M porphyry. It's within the breccias and within the sediments, whether they are on the margins or whether they are inside the system. So we know the grade control of mineralization right now. So there is a lot of space in between throughout this 2 kilometers trend where we can better design a drill program. And right now I can see 5 drill holes right away just by looking at this picture.
Okay. There was a very interesting graphic you guys included with the news release. It shows the footwall and the hanging wall blocks. Razique, you've identified some intense silicification here on the graphic. Is this silicification actually visible on surface, or are you projecting this to surface?
John, this is one of the best geological picture or geological part of the Cliff Miles Porphyry corridor. At Miles in this area, as you can see, it's a 500-meter stretch, north-south stretch of the porphyry system. We are looking northeast, and you can see John's Peak in the background, and the KSM cluster is in the background. And what we see here is a combination of a structural corridor of different structural blocks, and if you allow me to show you some of the distribution, we are quite excited about this lower footwall block, and then there is a sandwich block in the middle, which is still quite mineralized, and then there is another block down south to the east, which we call it the hanging wall block. So as you can see, all the bright yellow-orange polygons are actually representing the surface exposures of those silicified zones or silicification that is linked to the hydrothermal alteration. So the hydrothermal silica flooding in the system is actually exposed at this location, and that's one of the examples of how the silicified siltstone sediments look like. Which is a picture from this outcrop. And the point is that as you can see, the more massive and the more extensive silicification is clustered along the footwall block. As you go eastward, that silicification becomes less and less frequent, and then you gradually go into the background country rocks. So moving forward, this footwall block is going to be the focus of our this year's drilling program.
Okay. And you also have a helicopter video. Razique, you and I actually showed it when we did our deep dive on this project. We can play that video again. So for everyone that's watching, again, you're looking north or to the northeast here. The helicopter video is going to start looking south, but it's actually the camera is going to pan all the way around and it's going to turn to the north.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a great idea, John. I think it's important for the audience to see how the Cliff Miles Porphyry corridor actually look like while looking at west. I just captured that video when I was putting the collar for hole 37. So suppose everybody is standing here at 37. This is where I was filming, and then you are looking westward. So yeah, let's have a look.
So I'm just going to pause it there for a second, Razique. Is there a takeaway with a lot of this sort of brown material that people are seeing on the cliff? That is the actual surface expression of the mineralization, is it not? Am I getting that right?
No, that's correct. Like I said before, most of the mineralization is actually within the M porphyry, within the main mineralized M porphyry, which is more massive on the western side. And yeah, you can see the extensive silicitic alteration all throughout. And that picture, that pause really show us that difference, the elevation difference between the western flank, which is higher up, and then the valley, which is lower down. And that really shows a good profile. But one thing I would like to mention is that we have a sharp contact on the western side. We do see intrusive and faulted contact on the west end. But when you come down to the east, the eastern flank is a little bit more transitional into the country rocks. So that's why we are quite excited about targeting these open zones flanking to the west.
Okay, just going to play the rest of the video here. I think it's always good. Videos like this are helpful. I think it lets people put the deposit in perspective, right? You can actually see it in 3D, how it actually looks like. It ties together sort of the plan views and stuff that you've provided to make the image clearer, I think, for people.
It really helps.
So we've talked a lot about gold, and I know you've mentioned it already, Razique, that you're seeing some encouraging signs when it comes to copper. And obviously, copper itself as material has been, it's had a very strong 2020 and continues to be strong in 2021. So you've been hitting the better gold grades, especially in hole 34 and 37. You haven't quite hit the better copper grades yet. So maybe you can elaborate a bit on what these latest holes that you've drilled, even 34, 35, 36, 37, provided you with respect to information, I guess, that tells you might be getting closer to the better copper zones.
Razique, can I intervene for a second?
Yeah, sure.
If you go to the first, the map that we made second, of the whole, the Cliff Mile zone, the complete, yes, exactly. I think what we need to do is because this is the news release that we just put out, and this news release is focused on the Cliff Mile zone. But we need to understand that deep south, where our cliff zone is, it's eroded, it's lower, and you're getting to the better copper grades a lot more shallow, Because of the erosion, you're getting to 0.3, 4, 5, 6 in those holes. If you look at K 18, 16, you'll see the grades there. If Razique can spend some time explaining where we're at on the cliff zone there and where we're at the cliff mile zone, and then people will start to understand. What do you think, Razique?
No, that's a very good point to look at things in perspective. I think it's really important to look at these things in a space-time distribution context. The space-time distribution of porphyries are fundamental to understand these systems, especially when you are dealing with the structurally complicated, structurally complex systems like the cliff mile porphyry corridor. You rightly said that as you come down south, you're losing the elevation, you're coming down to the valley in the south. And it's about the elevation difference between cliff and the rest of the drill holes higher up. So all the other drill holes that we're testing, just the upper part of the system, they do show some signs of potassic alteration, but for the first time we have seen more extensive and more broad intercepts of increasing chalcopyrite, increasing copper gold grades. Yeah, there you go. That's a good example of from hole 34. This sample is from 592 meters, which is probably at around the same elevation level as cliff, as Fiore mentioned. Now here you can see there is a big overlap. There is silicification. The silica is kind of penetrated all the way down to that depth, and that silicification is actually telescoping the early potassic alteration. So we do see hydrothermal biotite. Yep, all the brown stains that you see, it's all hydrothermal biotite. That's the potassic alteration, and then it's being cut by these thick, kind of a little late stage quartz carbonate sulfide veins, and you can see there is a much higher proportion of chalcopyrite in this sample. So we are in a transition at this level. We are in a transition to switch from gold only into copper gold zones.
Okay, so for example, next year, if you were to
this year,
thank you.
Next drill season.
Yeah, this drill season coming up.
Yes.
If you were to drill, I'm gonna make this too shallow again, probably. Something like that.
Yes.
Let me try it again. Something like that. You would expect better copper grades in here, correct?
Yes.
Absolutely, yeah. That's these are narrow tabular bodies, and that's exactly what happened in the past. In some of the deposits, like I remember Red Chris. When they had that steep vertical hole, that's where they were able to test the deeper.
In Red Chris.
Yeah, at Red Chris. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they did the same thing. They tried the same thing at the curve, and that's how they were. Seabridge was able to discover the deep curve deposit, because this mineralization continues for about maybe 1.5 kilometers vertically.
Okay, so again, for people that might be less technical, just this again, the significance of the potassic alteration here, that's just indicative of what you would look for as a geologist, a clue per se, that you're getting kind of closer. You would expect to be closer to where the copper would be richer in grade. Is that fair, Razique?
That's a fair call. Yep, definitely. The reason why we call it, the potassic alteration, because it comes back to your early temperature environment. Biotite, chalcopyrite, bornite. These are all really high temperature minerals. So that's where you precipitate more copper, higher temperature zone.
Okay. So let's take a step back. Maybe all the information you have so far from the holes, has any of this changed your plans for how you had, thought about approaching things in 2021? Or were most of the holes kind of in line with what you expected? I know obviously we've talked about the one aspect that you're going to change, you're going to switch to drilling from east to west. But is there anything else that you're going to sort of adjust based on what you've learned from these holes?
I think the cross-section work and 3D modeling is in progress, and we've just started to see some northeast-oriented trends. So I think the plan is going to be the same. We'll just come closer to the eastern flank of the porphyry system, and then drill at an angle which is testing both the gold-rich mineralization, and at the same time we will be testing the depth potential that leads into the copper-gold core zones, and this 3D modeling is actually helping us, allowing us to better design the drill collars, for dip direction and azimuth of the drill holes.
And is it a correct statement, Razique, to say that this, the mineralization within this red box that I just highlighted, which is what we're seeing in the overall picture, is the drilling going to continue to focus within this 2 kilometer section, or would you be looking to go farther north or farther south?
Well, it's open to the north and it's open to the south. The first thing we would do is to get our modeling out of the way. First step. Second, we need to do some additional IP lines. That picture, that map shows the limit of IP that we did last year. I think we definitely need some additional IP lines to the north, because it's that big resistivity normally is open to the north. And to the south, there you go. That was our southernmost line, and see if we can, it's quite a rugged terrain at this location, but see if we can squeeze in one more IP line to that.
Just, John, just to mention, we tried to put IP in that deep south area, and they couldn't do it. So this year we're going to have to get some mountain climbers in there to get 2 lines. We wanted at least 2 lines in there. When they tried, and it's not that we ignored that little section. No, it's we tried and we couldn't get it done. So that's one area that Razique wants to focus on. He also wants to focus on that picture that you saw. There's going up north, the miles extended zone. That we need to do some IP in there, and then we can talk about it in our conclusion. We want to do IP over the coal, which is a separate, almost a separate project altogether. This system is pretty big, and we need to focus and establish one area first before we start jumping everywhere.
Yeah, the size is both opportunity and challenge, correct? Opportunity in the sense of scale, but challenge, there's only so much money to spend, and you have to
exactly. The exciting thing, John, is that that 1.2 kilometer from 37 to 34, it's actually more than that, but let's just call it 1.2 kilometers. You can fit a lot of deposits in there, so it's quite big, Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's still open to the north and to the south. Coming back to your question, John, I would like to, fill up the audience a bit more. Yeah, this block is going to be the focus of our this year's drill program. And like I said, the deep drill holes, open up all the avenues for mineralization to expand east, west, north, south, and at depth.
Razique, any plans to do any initial metallurgical testing at all on things?
Oh, yeah, that's right. It's I think it's about time to do some metallurgical testing and recoveries for copper and gold, and see how the extraction is. What are the results? And then not only the metallurgical testing, I think we are going to be doing some oriented core drilling also to better map the morphology and geometry of these units that are steeply west dipping.
And you're doing some LIDAR too, right?
That would be very helpful. Yeah, LIDAR survey is going to be purely based on it'll be purely for more structural interpretation of the system. I think it's really important, because if you look at looking at this image, you can see there is different blocks, of the system. There is a southern block by hole 13, 36, and then there is a little break in between, and then there is a central block which I'm more excited about, and you can see the prominent resistivity anomaly in the middle, and that's where all the other good grades are intercepted. And then there is another northern block which is a bit shallower in the environment, in the porphyry environment, because we see some epithermal overprint there too. So the system is kind of epithermal to the north and then more porphyry to the south. So there's a lot more to be learned about it using LiDAR. Yeah.
Okay. Any plans for any geophysics aside from IP? I think we talked before in the last interview maybe about ZTEM.
Go ahead, Razique.
I would like you to just
ZTEM, absolutely. So with ZTEM, Razique has already planned a map, and it's already at Geotech. They've already come back with estimate of what it would cost. So we're one step ahead. We're moving forward with a complete ZTEM of the property. We are working in conjunction with Garibaldi and SK Mining. So we are doing Thunder North going upwards, and we are going 3.5 to 4 kilometers to SK's ground. And then what they are doing SkyTEM over our ground. So we are sharing and working together with the information. So I'm quite excited about that. Mac, myself, and Steve, we're trying to work together, and I think it's a great thing. So I'm excited about the ZTEM. I think it's going to help Razique and his team. Give him let's call it, give him the confidence. Because of everything he's doing on the ground and all the drilling data and everything, and then to have the confidence of having the ZTEM information, I think it's going to be a banner year that year, the coming up.
When would we see that? Like, when would you actually fly those surveys and conduct those, and when would? So
Razique and I are not geophysicists, but we do have a very good one who works for both Garibaldi and Metallis, Jules. We would start the ZTEM. The earliest would be June 1st, and only because it works off lightning storms, in the world. That's what it picks up on. So, and the strongest and the best are early June. You could start late May. So that would be the earliest we can start the ZTEM. And then they need about a month to 2 months to work the data.
Okay.
So SkyTEM, I know that Mac is getting ready to move forward as soon as possible with the SkyTEM that he's going to be doing.
Okay, so a month to 2 months for the ZTEM. Does that mean you would be able to use that data to orient some of your drilling, or would that kind of come too late?
No, it would be. Razique, as he was saying, once Razique and his team work out the 3D model and all their interpretations, I think they're going to have clear drill holes to start with. And, the deeper ones we'll set up for later in the season. So we can start, on the more, let's call them the more shallow. They're all going to be deep, but the more shallow holes we can start on. And then as we get the information, the confirmation, let's call it, Razique can start with the deeper ones. Do you see it like that, Razique?
Yeah, absolutely. There is an overlap between the two programs, I think. The way I see the Cliff Miles porphyry system, I know, it's a tabular north-south oriented porphyry system, and I think I'm quite excited about the ZTEM because they do have some success with the ZTEM when they have discovered the Olympic Dam and Pebble, Alaska, and even at the Deep Kerr deposit, the ZTEM is showing up that core zones of the porphyry system. I think it's going to be very useful for us to know that the deeper conductive response of this porphyry system, which will allow us to steer the drilling in that direction. But like I said, we already know like 4 to 5 locations that we can start with, and I assume that probably IP is going to be done early, and then we'll generate more targets based on the IP, and then and then use an integrated exploration effort that will involve the ZTEM, we'll go back and review some of the VTEM conductors that we have, and then IP, geochemistry, structure, and the 3D modeling, and we'll have a combination of 4 or 5 data sets to plan it to go.
Okay, I know the company has disclosed that you drilled 5 holes. We've reported 4, we've talked about 4. You've reported 4, including the 3 today. Can you speak at all to that 5th hole, where it was drilled, and when shareholders might be able to find out about the results?
Yeah, the 5th hole was actually drilled outside the Hollis and Monzonite complex. It's off to the King East, and it's outside the Cliff Porphyry system. It was a scout drill hole based on the surface geochemistry and the strata-bound mineralization that's been found time and again on the eastern flank on the eastern margin of the Kirkham property. So we've got the assays and we are working on it. We'll do our internal geological interpretations first, and then that's going to come next.
Okay. Fiore, I want to switch to you for a second. Obviously, I need to get your take on a big event that happened in the area. And I mean, you guys have a slide on it here. Obviously, the news, Newmont, the biggest gold company in the world, has put in a takeover bid for GT Gold and their saddle deposit. I believe it's 450 million.
456 million, yes.
Yeah. And that was just announced March 10th. So that's obviously big news in the Golden Triangle. Your thoughts on that and how that could play in the area and Metallis specifically?
Well, obviously, it's good for everybody in the Golden Triangle. It's a big company coming in and saying, we believe in the project. I'm excited because if you look at what Metallis has, that Kirkham is developing, and you look at GT Gold and Saddle North, I would say we have a very good chance of duplicating what they've done. So I've never been more excited. If I could have planned it better, I couldn't. It's great. Same thing with what's happening with all the other developments of Tudor and Treaty Creek, and I think all these things help the district. I like what Mac and his team and SK Mining is doing, and Skeena. I mean, this is setting up for a very, very big year. Something that struck me kind of funny today was I was on a phone call with one of our big investors back east in Toronto, and his question to me was, did you shore up your drilling? Because I'm hearing from other people that we can't get drills, and of course Metallis is all set up with drills, helicopters, and we're ready to go. So that kind of tells you that it's going to be a big year this year in drilling.
So it's hard to get drills, helicopters, and personnel. It's going to be that busy, I guess.
Yes, yeah. Right now, to get a drill, it's that hard. It's difficult because people have already signed on with teams and crews, and the best go first, right? So Razique and I, we work on relationship, and we have a very good relationship in the Golden Triangle, and we're all secured. So we're pretty happy about that. Sorry, go ahead, Razique.
No, at least we are good and secure for the pad building timber and the core boxes. We got it.
Yeah, we're set. We got everything. John, we need you on the hill this year.
So core boxes are actually hard to come by too?
Yes.
Can you imagine? Yeah.
Wow. And
yes.
Core boxes are kind of important when you want to do some drilling. So yes. Wow, that's pretty crazy.
And John, it's wood. It's wood.
Yeah.
Wood. You have to pre-buy all your wood.
Wow.
For the pads and stuff. Yes.
So you've secured all of this. It's March, but even though drilling season is say 2-3 months away, you're ready to go then. We're
ready to go. We're ready to go with all our contracts. Yes.
Okay. Well, that's really good news to hear. Where are you at with bolstering the treasury, Fiore? I know obviously that'll be an important step to fund the program. Are you kind of making calls already? Is that in the works?
Yes, unfortunately, this year, another pandemic year. Well, last year, actually, Razique and I were coming back from PDAC when things changed. So this year we didn't really go to PDAC, but we're making our calls, and we have very good response. So far, I'm pretty happy with our investors, and our major investors are all in, and so we're going to be there. We're looking at a financing in the next little while.
Okay.
So we like to shore up. Yeah, we like to shore up this year earlier, and just go at her. We want to be aggressive because we know that we're on the right track now, and it's like a puzzle. I think Razique and his team has done a good job. And, we kind of figured it out this past season, and now we want to put that into the field.
Okay. Razique, are you getting excited to head back out for exploration season?
Oh, man, I can't wait to test those deeper part of the system because, like I said, there is a two-pronged approach to this system. I do see a gold-rich capping the telescoping a copper gold core underneath. And it's a very common, it's a very standard porphyry model throughout the world when you have gold-rich caps, on top of the hotter copper gold core zones, and especially now, like I said, we've got very good control of mineralization now. We will be focusing and targeting the M porphyry, the silicified siltstone sediments, and the hydrothermal breccias, because all these three major units are actually carrying good copper gold grades. And like I said, I can't wait to go back and drill underneath what we have done so far.
Well, and you know what, June will be here before you know it, right? I mean, we're really only
snow will be gone by then. I think it's going to be like a similar program like last year, but more drilling. I think by the end of June, the snow is gone because the geophysicists, they always prefer to have their dipole probing without snow cover, because you just get a good contact with the ground and you get a better IP response.
With the IP, yeah.
Yeah, with IP. Yeah, so for the airborne, I'm not really sure if snow levels are going to affect. I don't think so. For the airborne ZTEM, that can start early. But we would definitely like to do a phase 1 exploration program first. That includes, LiDAR survey, ZTEM, IP, surface geochemistry, ground truthing, relogging, and that's when we're going to fine-tune our drill collars.
Okay. Well, gentlemen, always great to have you on the show. Interesting times in the Golden Triangle, interesting times in general. I think in the commodity space, I think it's a good time, personally anyway, I think it's a good time to be investing in commodities. And, I hope you guys have a great season in 2021.
Well, I hope to see you again. I think there's more news coming. So whenever you're free, we'd like to share the news with everybody.
Okay, sounds good. So maybe hole 5 results then?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Anything else juicy coming down the road? Or no comment?
No comment.
Maybe? Okay.
Maybe.
We'll keep it to the next time.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks again, guys. Appreciate the update and, for providing some color on the news release. Congratulations again. And again, I wanted to say nice job on the graphics and stuff. I think it, again, it really adds to the news release. So good job on that. So thanks. Until then, stay safe, be well, and we'll chat soon.
Have
a good day. Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye.